I just do that. I'm going to do it to like line the audio up. Well, everybody, today I have a guest with me that came over to my place, and we were going to talk about a lot of the things we went over this winter with starting my gray horse, Barbie. So you can introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
Hi, my name's Dave Black, and I've been kind of working with horses pretty much all my life, right from babies up to senior horses, and loving every minute of it.
So this past winter, she was a 2-year-old at the time. I took her over to Dave's for a month to get all the basics done so I could take over. And I think out of the month, I pretty much went there 6 days a week. And we went over everything, all the lunging, all the foundation and basics to basically get me on her back and get me taking over when I could bring her home. So a few of the things that I found really important was just the whole lunging aspect. So just kind of walk through a bit of your program when you take a horse in that you're going to start.
Yeah, for the lunging part is very important because that's your starting point of getting your horse to start to use his thinking side of their brain. And you want to turn your lunging into them starting to learn how to think instead of just lunging to run them all out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that's the thing I was reading up on is when you lunge, the main things you do it for is to basically burn them out, get them tired, and also for focus, where I think our main point and our priority of lunging is to get them to focus and pay attention. Like it's more of a training session than just running laps and not having a purpose about it.
Yes.
So when you do it, what is your purpose? Like what are you kind of trying to accomplish when you go to lunge a horse?
So I want them to start focus, start thinking of what their job is,
Mm-hmm.
and the job is the turn, and to turn well,
Mm-hmm.
and the going around in the lunging part is the reward for the turning well. So they have a reward and a set job in it where they have to think and execute the turn.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just a quick little turn and run scared. They understand the whole concept of
exactly.
the turn.
And I guess it takes a while for them to understand the point of you're asking them to turn well, and they like how long does it take for them to really clue in like, oh, this is what you want, and then they're more willing to work and they're nice and focused and paying attention.
It depends on the horse, but most of them pick it up pretty quick because you had a couple different steps. You ask them to yield the butt out to stop, look at you, wait for a few seconds, and then ask them to go the other way. And then go around a couple times, yield the butt, stop, look at you. And they understand the turn, stop, and look at you is the good part. It's the nice part.
Mm-hmm.
It's the part they want to do.
Yeah.
And then you just finish the yield the butt, stop,
Mm-hmm.
and turn into one movement instead of breaking it into two.
Okay, gotcha. So it's kind of like the steps you take is it's more of a transitional thing, and eventually they just get it where they will do it just more naturally, and that's kind of the end goal, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you start using more of their hind end
Mm-hmm.
to get that turn done.
So you can teach them so much by not even really being on their back. Like you can make them already moving their body parts in ways they've never done naturally, just without even having to step a foot over them.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can teach them pretty well everything from the ground that you're going to need in the saddle.
Yeah. So how important would you say getting a good foundation and the good groundwork, how important is that with the young horse?
It's over the top.
It's everything.
It's everything, yes. Because if you don't have a good starting point, then once you move on past that good foundation, nothing's really going to line up totally as you progress.
Yeah.
And then eventually it's just going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
And then you're going to run into trouble down the road somewhere.
Yeah. So definitely no rushing when you're doing the early stages, like your kindergarten stages. Like you really have to get that down pat before you can really move on to the more technical, because what I realize is your cues won't line up. You might get frustrated and then you're asking your horse. And I found that this winter where you kind of helped me and you're like, calm down, just don't beat on your horse. Or like, I'd want to kick her to move her because I'm like, why don't you understand this? But it's because they don't understand. They don't know what a leg yield or when you pull this direction on a rein, they don't naturally understand the concept of what we're asking. So I guess just in the first 30 days or whatever, like just the importance of really making sure your cues line up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you both speak the same language. You, like one person's not speaking, say, German, and the other person speaking French type thing. Like you're not going to understand each other, and you both get frustrated.
For sure, definitely. So, what would you say some of the biggest problems people might run into with lunging?
They miss all the little tries that the horse is giving the person. And the horse is asking one thing and they're missing the little ones. And you miss too many little ones, then the horse will give you a big answer. And the big answer is when you notice and it's
Too
too late.
Yeah.
Now you have to back up a whole bunch of steps to fix the why you got the big one.
That's true. So when you're lunging, do you have a point in your training that you realize like it's okay to stop lunging? Does that ever come about, or are you kind of more of a firm believer that it's always a good idea to keep lunging fresh in their mind?
Yeah. Well, I like to lunge lots because it makes, especially on a young horse, even if only lunge for like 5-10 minutes, like once time one this way, one time the other way, horse is doing good, is listening good, and quit, get on, away we go. Just to double check, but just make sure their brain is turned on and they're ready to work. It's just like in the morning, when you get up in the morning, you have your cup of coffee, you're sitting at the kitchen table or the whatever, and you're thinking about your day starting, right? And then you finish your coffee, and then off you go to work. A horse kind of needs the same thing before it starts to work. It needs to think about the work first, not just boom, stall, boom, in the arena, boom, we're working hard. You need that little...
It's like a warm-up period that they just, like, it's...
a mental period to start thinking about work.
Exactly. Get their brain on, get them present there, ready to kind of do what you're going to ask them to do.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty much for the questions. Did you have anything else you wanted to add for your lunging and just the first 30 days of getting a horse to start?
Exposing the horse to stuff that could make it like scare it. Like typical thing like a tractor, dog.
Just all desensitizing.
Yes, just little stuff like that. Because you go to get on a scared horse, the first thing that's going to happen is going to run, bolt, buck, whatever. If you have to get a little bit of, teach it how to be a little brave and use how to manage its emotions.
True, yeah.
It can rate itself back when something does scare it. It can jump one step over, but then stop and think, okay, that wasn't so bad, right? So
like almost they're in control of how they handle things that are scaring them.
Yes.
And
it's like when someone walks up to us and sneaks up behind you and you jump, but you don't run away.
It's not life-threatening.
Yes. It's something like that.
That's true. And I guess when you have those missing gaps, it does make a difference because just when you said about when you get on a horse and they want to run off or whatever, that's not a good thing. Like, how is that going to set your run up or your ride up if you can't even get on your horse and they can't even be focused on you enough to let you just get on, let alone actually riding them and trying to accomplish something.
If you already starting out with a horse that's too nervous, it has a really, really hard time to try and learn. Yeah. And then both have to work way too hard to try and learn.
Well, you really, even for barrel racing with me, when your horse gets hot and nervous, you can't train a nervous horse.
No.
You're just kind of fighting and trying to work through it, but at the end of the day, are you really gonna, through a fight like that, are you really gonna get anything accomplished worthwhile anyways?
Yeah,
Probably not.
Probably not.
No. Yeah. So, but yeah, my winter went super well at Dave's. It was awesome. Like I said, I was there pretty much 5 or 6 days every week for the three weeks that I had her there, and we learned a lot. And honestly, I learned so many things that you can teach a horse, first of all, without getting on them. Second of all, just the initial steps of how to teach them stuff without being abrasive. And that's the one thing that I think really hit me, was realizing how you can train a horse with the lightest touch and just being gentle, and like you said, you're kind of working through it and learning together. And that's how it should be. You shouldn't be forceful and trying to make your horse do something because it makes sense to you, but like, especially at that stage, the horse has no clue what any of it is, and it's just trying to learn.
They need,
so
you just got to recognize all the smallest little tries and reward that a lot.
Exactly.
And then they figure out that one and one equal 2 every time, not 1 and 1 equals 3 sometimes.
The consistency, I guess, is where it's at. Is every cue you have to wait till you get the exact answer, and that's what you kind of taught me. Is you wait for the right answer. They might be trying, they're trying to get the answer, but you don't release the pressure until that answer's there. And like you just said, it's going to be the same every time. You hold it until they give you the exact answer, and then the pressure is released.
Yes.
And that was a huge thing for me. And I think when you're starting a horse, you kind of appreciate that more. When you get on a horse that's already been broke, or an open barrel horse, you don't realize that they still need the same things. You can't, just because the 30 days is up doesn't mean that they're going to be perfect and understand right away. It's still going to be the same process. They're just more experienced.
Yeah, more experienced. In this case, they have to learn all their life, and we have to learn all our life, and just to make the good stuff and the bad stuff just a little better. Just a little better, little better.
Yeah, that's true. It's like they keep trying, and then eventually it's like, oh, all these were mistakes. This one is not a mistake.
Right.
So I did have a few frequently asked questions that I was able to research that people would like to know about lunging. The one being, how to get your horse to kind of step out when you're starting to lunge, get them to move away from you, and kind of keeping that diameter throughout the circle, because obviously you're going to want a perfect circle when you're lunging. So just being able to keep that consistency in a nice circle. Also the equipment you would use, how to get your horse to stop when you're lunging, and also change direction. So I know those are all very complex answers that we can't answer right now, but how would you feel about going to do some demonstrations?
Sure.
Yeah?
It'd be fun, yes.
Okay, cool. We're gonna go get Barbie, and she might be a little rusty, but we're gonna see what she knows.
Our first step is right here. Standing here waiting, being patient, not trying to run and start work before we're both ready. So as they're kind of going around, kind of lunging around, you want to keep your forward going. You want to kind of have your body in a nice, relaxed position. You're not driving unnecessarily. Put your hands down, relax. I like to try and have my hand down with the line in it, down in front of my belt buckle, because that's kind of a nice neutral position. And to stop, kind of want to lift my hand up, step towards their bum, push that bum out, stop, and then wait for the turn. And get myself organized, asp on a point, supposed to go off my point, don't go off my point, start driving on the other side, and ask them to go. So that was step 1 in the stop and turn around. Step 2 is no pause in between the turn. Come on, baby. This one here, you kind of want to step over, cut the drive line off, back, and then step forward, and just go. So again, you kind of want to step over, back, and step towards, and go. You just want to try and have the head a little bit tucked in towards the center of the circle. and then stop. Before you wear them all out of gas and they're huffing and puffing too much, if they're doing well, stop, give them a break, put some loving on them. They appreciate the lots of scratching on them. And this part is very important because now you're starting to build a little bond. When they're relaxing, you're with them.